Today I'm going to be making Food Wars food for 24 hours. I'm going to be making the souffle omelet for breakfast, followed by the loco moco don from Nikumi for lunch, and then the chalipin steak for dinner. This was heavily inspired by Inga over About to Eat, and you should totally watch all of their videos. They're really, really good. So let's get started with this souffle omelet for breakfast. So in this case, we're gonna just separate our 3 eggs into 2 separate bowls. Super, super easy. We're gonna go egg whites into 1 bowl, and then yolks in the other. It's pretty important to make sure there's no yolk with the whites, otherwise it won't whip properly. I'm only doing 3 eggs because I am also still trying to meet my macros for the day. So if you want to do more eggs, you totally can, but 3 eggs is going to be enough for me. That's it. We'll just set our eggs to the side for now. Because I also want to make sure that our sauce is ready before we actually whip the eggs, because otherwise they can deflate. So start the sauce before you whip any of that. And the parsley too. Now, I'm using cherry tomatoes because since I'm making the loco moco don later, we are gonna need cherry tomatoes for that, so you could just use them for both. It's really not that big of a deal. Just gonna cut these in half though to make our lives easier, and 1 for me. I'm also gonna be using some garlic. You can just use powdered garlic, whatever garlic you have really. I always keep fresh garlic on hand, so I'm just gonna use that. I mean, you could chop this up however big you want. I like mine to kind of look like that. A little in between chunky, you know, I like the chunky boys. Now in the world's cutest saucepan, we're gonna hit this with a bit of oil. Is there oil in here? There is, just a little, come on. That's all I need, just a touch, like just a very, very small amount. Pop our garlic right into here. And then we're just gonna toast this on the stove, and then we'll bring the cherries over too. Cherry tomatoes are gonna go with the garlic. Now remember, a big thing is that we're not really trying to spend all day making breakfast, but it just, you know, it's up to you. I'm able to do this, and I'm still only gonna take about 30 minutes to make breakfast, which is still a good amount of time for making breakfast, to be honest. A lot of the time, my breakfasts take about 10 to 12 minutes, and I have the same thing every single day, except for today. So this is kind of a treat for me, to be honest. Now, once the garlic is fragrant, we're not really trying to brown this too much. I just want to be able to smell it. We're gonna take our cherry tomatoes, and we're gonna throw those guys right in there. Give this a quick stir. Now we're gonna bring the heat down to like a nice like medium. We'll let that hang out for a minute. While the cherry tomatoes are working and turning into our sauce, we're gonna finish chopping this parsley. Again, you can just leave this out if you don't really wanna keep parsley in the house. I think the main components are really the tomato sauce and the eggs to make the omelet, and that's really it. Okay, now we have egg whites and egg yolks. I'm just gonna hit this with a splash of half and half. You can also do a bit of milk or cream or whatever you have. I just always carry half and half, so not too much. One of those, and that's it. Now again, before I really start doing this, I wanna make sure that that sauce is done. Otherwise, you don't want this to deflate like we talked about earlier, so we're gonna go finish that first. You can already see these cherry tomatoes are starting to break down. Well, maybe you can see it, there's like 0 lighting over here. But yeah, they're starting to break down. They're starting to turn jammy. We're gonna cook this for another, I don't know, maybe 3-4 minutes, and then hit it with a little bit of red wine, and that's pretty much it. I forgot the wine though, I forgot the wine. Hit that with a little splash. Nothing crazy, just a little bit of wine. A little bit of salt. Fresh cracked pepper. Just let this reduce for another couple of minutes and it's done. I wanna make sure you are stirring this pretty often because there is a good amount of sugar in cherry tomatoes. If you let them hang out too long, they do have a good chance of burning, so just keep that in mind, you know? That's pretty good. That looks pretty good to me. We don't need anything else. Let's let it hang out. Let me show you the sauce. It's thickened up pretty nicely, yeah? That's all you're looking for. And since it is hotter than the sun, I'm gonna let it just cool down on the stove before I stick my fingers in it. Now we can whip the eggs and then make our breakfast. Like, I'm super hungry, to be honest. It's about 11 o'clock and I haven't really eaten yet. I had to get my workout in before I started all of this. We're gonna whip the egg yolks first, so those are ready. Wash this and then whip the egg whites, because those are gonna be the most temperamental. Kind of see, like as you finish whipping your egg yolks, they start to lighten up in color, and that's really what you want. Oh, that looks good. I'm happy with this. Now give this a rinse, because if you have fat on your whisk in the form of egg yolks in this case, the egg whites might not whip as well. Now for the egg whites, we're going for a like soft peak, maybe even a medium peak, nothing too crazy. That's good. That's a pretty soft peak. We're just gonna roll with this because I don't really want to over whip this. Yep, should have stopped there. Now we got egg whites everywhere. So we're gonna take like 1/3 of our egg whites, doesn't have to be perfect, put it into our yolks. Then we're gonna stir this together so it's a little more fluffy when we pour it back into that. This part is pretty vital. If you don't do this and you just mix it all together, you're probably gonna have a flat omelet. And to be honest, that's fine. Just eat your flat eggs. It's okay. Now we're gonna take this mixture, now that the egg whites are incorporated with the whites, the egg yolks are incorporated with the egg whites, we're gonna put that into that. Now we can do one of these. Then we can fold all of this together. It makes it seem like so much more egg than it is. This is only 3 eggs. I'm just trying to make sure there's not too many streaks of egg whites left. Don't really want that. You can see it's still nice and fluffy. Let's cook this thing off and eat some eggs. Eat some hopefully jiggly fluffy omelet. I'm using some nonstick spray because I don't want to add any more butter or fat to this, but feel free to use whatever oils you want. Trust me, it's okay. I'm gonna take all of this. We're gonna pour it in right away. Just gonna kind of help it. Don't force it too much. Let it kind of settle. Throw it a lid on this guy and yeah. I have it like on a medium heat. We're gonna let it steam for about 5 minutes and it should be pretty close to done. This has only been going for about 4 minutes and I'm pretty sure it's ready to go. We're gonna try to flip this thing. See if I can pull this out. Okay, it has a nice little bottom and I can still fold it, so that's nice, yeah. And we're just gonna kind of lightly bring this onto the middle of the plate. There, fluffy, jiggly omelet. Pretty easy peasy if you ask me. Like, look at that, that's really nice. You get that jiggle? I mean, it's nice. It's super fluffy still. It has a little bit of color here, which is kind of what you want. You know, you still got the fluffiness down here. That's all right. I'm okay with that. Gonna hit this with our tomato sauce, just right on top. You know, do one of those. I'm gonna use all of it because this sauce is actually pretty tasty. Huh? Salt and pepper. Don't forget, because remember, we didn't really season this, so hit this with a pinch of salt. And then some fresh cracked pepper, just like all over the place. This is gonna look, I'm gonna have to get some of this off for the thumbnail. A little bit of parsley, and there we go. Souffle omelet for breakfast. It's literally that easy. Now what's really nice is that even after taking some thumbnails, like it's still pretty much jiggly. Like you can see, look at the jiggle. I don't know how much more jiggle you want than that, so. It's literally like eating a cloud. It's so easy. Even a caveman can do it. Is that still a thing? I'm just gonna eat this. What's nice about that egg white omelet, there was multiple eggs in there, is that it doesn't feel super heavy, which is really nice. I even had it with a piece of toast, didn't have the yogurt with it. It was great. But now we're going to start prepping lunch, which also is fairly straightforward. I think breakfast took me just about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes from start to finish, so that's not too bad. But for lunch, we are making Nakumi's Loco Moco, which I have a dedicated video to. Today, we are gonna wing it. I'm not looking at any measurements. I'm just going off of memory, so take it for what you will, but it's gonna be pretty close. First thing is I'm just gonna prep out some of the cucumber salad that sits right on top. This is just a, what is it, 1 hothouse cucumber. We're gonna just dice these real quick, super easy. There, boom, diced cucumber, nothing fancy. Literally just put it back into the container. Do the same with these. Then once you have your cucumber cut, we are going to do the cherry tomatoes, which is just the other half of the pack. I bought 1 pack for both breakfast and lunch, and that's all you really need. I'm just gonna give these a quick rinse though, because I don't think I washed these. It's good enough, quick rinse. Oh God, always good to have towels on hand. Seriously, Costco, like 20 bucks for like 50 of these. Now same thing with the cherries. I'm gonna cut these in half, nothing fancy. We're just making lunch for ourselves. You gotta remember that. Like it's really super cool to celebrate food wars and celebrate anime with food, but I also don't want you guys to really overthink it, yeah? Just keep that in mind while you do this stuff. Then we're gonna pop these with our cucumbers. Cucumber salad, it's almost done. I had leftover diced red onion from taco night the other night. My wife and I did taco night, so I'm just gonna throw these in here too. Totally optional, but I like red onions with cucumber salad. There, now cucumber salad is ready to go. We don't need to dress it or anything. I'm just gonna throw the lid back on it. This is done, ready for later. Now we're gonna make the white wine vinegar dressing. Now this dressing goes very, very quickly, super easy. I got myself 1 shallot that I already diced up, nothing crazy. Put a shallot in there. This will help emulsify it. I'm also throwing in maybe like a tablespoon of mustard. I got this Portland stuff. It's really nice, it's organic, but use whatever mustard you want. That looks good. Then I'm also gonna hit it with a splash of my vinegar. You know, you wanna do a pretty decent amount of the vinegar though, because this is what's really gonna help bring everything together. Do about that, that looks good. Then I'm gonna do a hefty portion of olive oil. You can also use canola or whatever. I have olive oil, so I'm just using this. Pinch of salt, black pepper, always. Give a couple cracks of that. Shout out to the Pepper Cannon, the best pepper grinder I've ever had. And now we just blend it. This one is kind of weird. You gotta like put this thing upside down. Oh, is this on? That doesn't look on. We'll know when we turn it upside down. Now we're just gonna blend it. It's gonna be really loud. Just like what, 20 seconds, maybe? That's really it. Making vinaigrettes is super simple. Adds a ton of flavor to your food. It's not really a lot of effort. Let's see what this thing looks like. Make sure you do give it a taste. Should be nice and creamy from all the mustard and the shallot because it helps emulsify. But since it doesn't have like an egg yolk or anything, it may separate. It's just shake it back up. It's okay. There's our nice little white wine mustard vinaigrette. This is a little more loose than I would typically like, but I didn't do as much oil, so it's okay. That's good. I like the saltiness there, because it's not overwhelming, has a nice bite from the mustard and the vinegar, because we can re-season the salad as we go, so don't over-season this. Got myself one of the best containers on the planet. I love these things. They're on Amazon for like 10 bucks for a set. Put that away. Dressing is done. So salad is really just this and this. Remember, she didn't do too much because it was a buffet, so this is all you need. And then now we can actually move on to the ground beef, and it's just a beef patty. There wasn't anything too crazy with it because a lot of the flavor was coming from the vinaigrette. So in this case, I'm using some really nice, like organic, again, Costco. Shout out to Costco, please sponsor me. Organic grass-fed beef, which I like. It's only a couple dollars more than their regular ground beef, but I think the flavor is a lot better. It's worth the extra couple bucks. If you don't like ground beef, honestly, use turkey. Make a turkey patty, whatever you want. Remember, this is your lunch, but this is also anime food for 24 hours. So actually, I have an idea. To make my life easy for later, I'm gonna pre-portion this. And I think that was a pound. So we're gonna do 4 4-ounce portions and just call it a day, like nothing crazy. We're gonna use this so we don't have to waste more stuff and clean, because there's so much cleaning involved. And you also don't have to measure. You can have as much ground beef as you want, but I'm measuring just for macro's sake. That's about 4 ounces. We're just gonna do that, form it into a ball. And that's literally it, 4 of these. I'm just gonna put it right back into there. I think this is actually more than a pound of beef. Yeah, because that's 5 ounces. This is definitely more than a pound of beef. Let's just do 5 ounces. Form these into your little balls. Remember, we're not seasoning these. Don't add anything to them. Straight up ground beef. Bam, done, donezo. Wash hands, please. Throw a lid on it, and Nakumi's lunch is done. That's it. Other than the rice, which we're gonna be making after everything else is prepped out. Yeah, throw it in the fridge. Now with lunch prepped and ready to go, we're gonna start doing dinner, which again, like I started doing this all about an hour ago, and if I'm able to meal prep 3 different meals in 1 hour, I find that as a win, especially when it comes to Food Wars food. So next up is the chalypine steak. This is pretty straightforward. We're gonna dice up 2 whole, I think these are just sweet onions that I bought, just 2 whole onions. You wanna use either a white onion or a sweet onion. Remember, no peels on your onions. Nobody wants those. I'm gonna dice up both onions at the same time, but I'm only gonna put half at the bottom of my little container, and then the other half is gonna go on top of the steak. Turn the onion, and then do one of these, okay? Get nice diced pieces of your onion. Okay, now to begin crying, I'm gonna take all of these onions, we're gonna further mince them up, make them a nice pile, and just go to town. We do like a speed cutting montage. Oh God, my eyes. Okay, that's enough. Oh God, we're gonna take approximately half of the onions and place them into a nice flat container so our steaks can lay in it. Should be good, nice little bed of them. And then this stuff is gonna go on top of the steaks. Oh God, I have to open a window or something. Oh my God. I tried to go outside for a second, but there's a severe rainstorm. So now I'm stuck indoors with all this onion. Good choices today, Paul. Great choices today. Now, as far as the steak goes, I tried to find cheaper cuts of meat. Everything is expensive right now as far as meat goes, so I found some steak. This is flat iron. I was able to only find it for about $5 a pound. Find whatever cheap steak you want for this, or use a really nice steak. I don't care, but you're gonna smother it in onions, so maybe do the cheaper option. Now we also have to make sure that we score this, which I didn't do in my very first video when I made this, so we're gonna score this so it's accurate, at least a little accurate. We're gonna go just lightly score, very, very thin, almost like you're trying to get that crackling on pork skin, if that makes sense. So you can see it's like super thin lines. Maybe you can even see that, I'm not even sure. Then we're gonna score the opposite way. This should make it to where like you can eat the steak very easily. Even though it's gonna be tender enough, even without scoring it, it'll be okay. You could also skip the scoring step if you really don't want to. The scoring is also gonna help get all the enzymes of the onions onto the inside of the steak to make it super tender, but there you go, that's it. We're not trying to cut through it at all, but that's pretty much it. Now we're gonna lay this into our onion bath over here. Press that down into that. Do the same thing with the other flat. I got two because I'm gonna feed the wife, obviously, when she gets home, and I know she likes steak, so this is for her. In spirit of sharp knives, I'm gonna give away a Mise en Chef knife, and all you have to do is follow me on Twitter, hit like on this video. I will send one of you guys a knife. Now we're gonna take all of our onions, place these right on top, make sure it's totally covered. I might have to like squeeze some of the onions into the side just so the sides get some action. Then this is gonna sit in the fridge until dinner, so quite a while. 4 or 5 hours from now, but really you can go like 1.5 or 2 hours if you're prepping this ahead. Bam. You know what's really cool is that I ordered the Nikumi A5 Wagyu beef to see how her dish stacks up to Yukihira, so make sure you get subscribed for that. That's gonna be coming up within the next couple of weeks. Now all we have to do is make umeboshi paste, which takes a couple of minutes, and that's it. Now the umeboshi paste, honestly, is super easy. I'm not exactly sure what Yukihira did because they didn't really explain it, but what I'm gonna be doing is take some of my pickled plums and just removing the seeds from them and then just mushing it up into a bowl. Umeboshi's done. I have to go buy more now. Oh, here, we'll mush this. Just do one of these. You could probably use a knife, but I just washed mine, so I'm just gonna do this. Okay, pickled plums are done. Here, you wanna see it? I probably should show you. That's what you're here for. Yeah, little mush mush, now in the fridge. Now, as far as the rice goes, I'm just using some basic short grain Japanese style rice. Nothing fancy here. This is maybe something you would just steam ahead of time. You could have this in the fridge already, so that way you don't have to prep it the day of. In my case, I haven't made rice in a couple of days, so I'm gonna do about 4 cups of dried rice to just make sure I have enough for like if I want some for breakfast or something for tomorrow, but feel free to just do a couple of cups if you really want to, or just, you know what, use Uncle Ben's. I don't care, you do you. If you are using this style rice, make sure you wash it 3 times, you know, so the internet doesn't get mad at you, okay? Also, it's better for the rice. I wish I could show you what's happening, but basically I'm literally just washing the rice. It's not that interesting. We have officially washed the rice 3 times, which takes just a couple of minutes. It's not that big of a deal. Honestly, wash your rice. Now, since I am using my rice cooker, if you're doing this on the stove, cook it a little differently, but because my rice cooker is pretty amazing and it's gonna keep us hot all day, I love using it and just keeping the rice in there. What's interesting about this is that a lot of people use the finger or the knuckle technique, which is great for a pot, but these rice cookers are super efficient, so keep that in mind. So they actually do have line measurements as to like how much water you'll need. So I'm just gonna use that, cook your rice, again, however you really want to. We got our water in here and now we just throw it on the thing. That's it. It is officially 12:20. We've been prepping maybe for about 90 minutes now, so it took a little longer than I thought, but I was cleaning in between, making sure it looked halfway decent for you guys. Now we're just gonna wait till lunchtime, so I'll see you during lunch. Okay, let's make some lunch. Kind of lunchtime. I got some work done. I'm ready to eat again. I'm gonna start by making my little salad first. So I recommend using whatever spoon you're gonna eat with, just so that way you don't have to wash more stuff. Give our little cucumber tomato salad a toss. I actually want quite a bit of this just because it's super filling. That looks pretty good right there. In the anime, I'm not sure if Nikumi actually dresses this with some of the dressing, but you very much should. Otherwise, it's just dry cucumbers and tomatoes. Why not? Like, look at how beautiful this sauce is now. Like, this is so good. Should I do a couple of spoons of that, just right on top. This way, this is nicely dressed now. We're still gonna need some of this for the top of the burger patty though. Then we're gonna hit this with just a pinch of salt, black pepper, and then we are going to make our burger patty. That's it. Oh, and then we gotta fry the egg too. Gotta have the egg. So let's take one of our burger balls. Oh God, my mic just fell. Questionable. Now that I've scotch taped this to my chest hair, I don't need any more chest hair. We can finish making this burger. Now we're only gonna use one of these. I have a small pan over here, so we're gonna head over to the stove. I just have this over like a medium heat. Like, you don't need it too hot. I'm gonna form this guy just a bit. I probably should season it too. That's fine, we'll season it after. And I'm gonna smush this down a bit. I don't want it to be this thick. Let's throw a lid on this. We're just gonna let that steam for like 3 to 4 minutes. And if you have a bunch of burger meat left, you can save this for the next day, or if you're feeding multiple people, I'll probably eat this for lunch tomorrow or something like that. So just keep it in the fridge, or you can freeze it. So good, just eat this by itself. I gotta turn the fan on, otherwise the house will smoke out, so sorry for the noise. After just a couple of minutes, this thing is already steamed, ready to go. We're gonna give this a flip. Get some like nice Maillard reaction on there. Yeah, maybe, I don't know how dark this feed is. I'm gonna throw the lid back on it. We're gonna let that cook for, I don't know, another 2-3 minutes. Medium rare, medium, probably medium for me, it's okay. Remember, I started this rice earlier today and it's like super nice and fluffy now. That's why I love using that rice cooker. I'm gonna measure out 150 grams of rice as per my daily allowance, which isn't very much rice, guys. That's 160 grams right there. That's all I'm getting for this. It's still a good amount of food. Gotta put this back in the steamer. We're gonna place our cucumber salad right on top. Or I guess, you know, let's do half and half. Let's do like right there on the side. That looks really pretty. Okay, and then we'll do the burger right here, and then we'll do the egg on top of everything. There's our nice fat, thick, that's a thick burger. I probably could have smashed it a bit more, but that's totally fine. Now, we're gonna fry the egg in this burger grease, because why not? Easy, yeah? I'm gonna throw a lid on this, let this steam for like 2 minutes or so while this is resting, and then we can enjoy our lunch. Okie dokie. I may or may not have just steamed it a little too long. Like you can see, throwing a lid on it makes it so that this is a little more opaque, but it's okay. I'm okay with that. Oh, we need to put a little bit of dressing onto the actual burger. This way you get all that nice juice on there. Do one of those, because remember, this doesn't get gravy. And you know what was interesting is as I was putting this dish together, Nikumi made this as an overall thought process of how when she lost to Yukihiro, right? Because he had put acidity amongst all of the fat that he had used for his Charlie Peen steak, which we're gonna make later tonight. And that little bit of acidity really does make a huge difference when making dishes like this. So again, you know, use a little bit of acid to cut all the fat. We're just gonna do one of those right on top. Look at how beautiful that is. Easy peasy. This is the moment of truth right here. You see this? Should I puncture? I think we should. That's the one. I'm just gonna dive in. I'm gonna try to get a bite of everything. A little bit of the burger, some of the rice, some of the salad, the egg yolk, oh, cheers. This is a fantastic lunch. I didn't season the egg though, so I'm gonna hit this with just a little bit of salt. I'm gonna finish this, get some work done, and I'll see you back here in a minute for dinner. This is actually super easy since pretty much everything is prepped out from what we had earlier in the day. First thing I'm gonna do is just remove my steak from my onions. We're gonna keep half of the onions for us for right now, for me, and then the other half is gonna be for Rachel for later. So let me scrape off some of these onions because I want these to saute in later. I actually want a lot of the, I love these onions. I have made this a couple of times and I want a lot of them. Take this bad boy out. Try to get as much of the onion off the steak as possible so it kind of sears nice and evenly. Oh, it smells so good. You can see it actually looks like it almost opened up more. Then we're gonna get the onions that are on the bottom because that's where all the meat juices are. Dang, that's a lot of onions. Okay, we're gonna sear off our steak over on the stove, cook our onions, make our sauce, have dinner. Now I'm gonna start with just a splash of olive oil. Come on. Get that nice and greased up. A lot of the time when I cook, I like using a brush to get it super even. This way, you're not using a ton of oil. It makes it really, really nice this way. I also don't want this to be super hot. You don't need to sear this too hard. I'm gonna season my steak, salt and black pepper. Drop this on here. Season the other side. Now with that steak, a big thing too is that we're just gonna cook it slow and low, cook it to whatever temperature you want. I don't know if a well done would be really good in this application, especially for that style of steak. I'm probably gonna take it to like medium, maybe medium rare, and just call it a day and let it rest. So it's only gonna take like 4 or 5 minutes on each side at the most. And then while the steak is cooking, I wanted to do some garnish. I have some green onions. I'm using like 3 stalks of green onions, but feel free to use as many green onions as you want. This is just gonna be a garnish. This is a very onion forward dish. Here we got this garnish done. We have our umeboshi is in here. This stuff is ready to go too. We're gonna stir that into the rice later, and it's honestly that simple. A lot of the times we overcomplicate some of this stuff, and especially with Food Wars, I know it's super over the top, especially some of this stuff as like, I like to call it power creep, where it gets really intense later on in the show, but a lot of this stuff can be made within a couple of hours. Like I've made 3 Food Wars dishes today. So it got a little warm. I want you to see look at that nice, can you see the char on there? Now we're just gonna flip this guy. I'm gonna turn the heat down a little more because I feel like it's cooking too fast. One last thing to do is right before you pull off the steak, we're gonna hit it with just a dab of butter. This is gonna finish cooking this steak. We're gonna do a little one of those. It's not really enough to cook it with the butter. I think adding butter is just enough flavor, you know? You don't wanna actually put in too much. It's gonna give it a nice nuttiness, and that's all you're really trying to do here. What's nice about adding the butter right now is that later on when we add the onions are gonna absorb all of that butter and just make it so much better. So once you have your steak done, we're just gonna take this off, put it on our plate. Gonna let this guy rest until we're ready to plate up. And I mean, look at that guy. I'll show this camera maybe, probably can't see it. It's pretty nice. It doesn't take too long to cook. I think it's actually like a little over medium at this point, but it's okay. Now we're gonna drop all of our onions. We're gonna saute these until they absorb all of that butter, all of that meat flavor. For the onions, we're gonna let them go for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. They need to soften up a little bit and then render down, so that's gonna take some time. Just let it hang out for a bit. The onions just need to be seasoned. They're nice and soft now. Black pepper. Now these are ready to go. We're gonna put them on the plate. I'm just gonna put these on the plate with my steak. So again, I don't have to make too many things dirty. That's so much onion. I'm gonna leave like, we'll leave like some of them. Because we gotta deglaze the pan. We gotta use this for our sauce. The sauce is pretty simple. We're gonna need red wine and soy sauce and then a touch of butter. I'm just doing a very small amount. I don't need that much sauce here. I think the sauce, if you go too hard, it's gonna overpower a lot of it. Some soy sauce in there. Just a splash of soy. Hit this with our butter. Turn the pan off. I wish my pan wasn't concaved. It's kind of not flat. That's it. That's your pan sauce. Now, the thing is if you want this pan sauce thicker, you can always add more butter and make it a much more richer sauce, but I don't think it really needs it. I don't think he had it that thick. It's still kind of just a pan reduction. Okay, now we can plate this thing up. So I got my giant bowl here. I'm gonna go ahead and measure my rice out. Again, about 200 grams of rice. Then I'm gonna add the umeboshi straight to this. So I got my like umeboshi kind of paste over here. Take this. I'm gonna add a good amount. I love this pickled plum in the rice. It's a game changer. I always keep this in the house now, so I'm kind of sad I'm almost out. I need to go buy more. Gonna cut this into the rice. We can just mix it in with our spoon. It's gonna be okay. But this is gonna work exactly how we want it for this application. Get all this back in the centers just so it looks fairly pretty. Then we're gonna go steak right on top. I'm gonna go with some of our sauce on the steak. Then we're gonna go significant amount of onions. I'm gonna eat all of these onions, but for the thumbnail, I'm not gonna put all of them on there. You guys know why. Then do a little more sauce. Then our green onions. There it is. Jalapeno steak. I don't know how to pronounce it. There it is, guys, the last dish of the night. We made Food Wars food for 24 hours, ending with the jalapeno steak. The real question is whether or not I can eat this with chopsticks. We didn't do it the first time. And I'm just gonna put the rest of this on there because we can. So let's see if this steak, I don't know if you can actually, unless it's like short rib. I feel like if it were short rib, you probably could cut this without a knife or without pre-cutting it. Even scoring it, I can kind of pull it apart. Look at that. Cheers. It's rich, it's really tender, really nice sour punch from the umeboshi, from the pickled plum. Cuts everything, it's so nice. It's just a well-composed dish. Let me know what 3 Food Wars dishes you want to see for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or a video game or another show or whatever the case is. This was super fun to do. My name is Chef PK, and remember, keep playing with your food.